I'm not really sure how to start this because I'm not a writer. And even typing this out I feel like throwing my phone into the wall. I'm just pissed and kind of stunned and a little numb. And this whole thing is so stupidly messy that I don't even know if people are going to believe it, but whatever. I just need to get it out somewhere. Maybe get some thoughts back. This is going to be a long one, so buckle up. Anyway, it started with just like weird vibes. You know those weeks where you keep thinking something's off, but you can't put your finger on it? That was me last November. My fiancée, Rosalie, suddenly got obsessed with her phone, not like scrolling, but always checking it for messages and then hiding her screen when I walked by. I asked her about it, and she just said it was her group chat. And TBH, I didn't push because it was always her thing to have her little chats. Like, she's always been social and whatever. I'm not. My brother Atlas was coming back into town for the holidays. He's been away for a while and everyone in my family treats him like some kind of golden retriever. Like everything he does is so impressive. I'm just the other guy. That's not me being dramatic. That's just how our parents have always been. Even when we were kids, I don't hate him, but Angle. He's always been the one who gets the easy route. I'm used to being the backup plan. So Atlas is back and suddenly Rosalie is helping him get settled and showing him around the city. I didn't think it was weird at first because my family is always like all up in each other's business and she gets along with him, but then it was every other day. One time I called her and she said she was at home, but I could hear Atlas in the background like laughing with her. I thought maybe she just didn't want me to come over and hang with him, so I brushed it off. I mean, why would I think anything else? I trusted her. But then stupid little things started adding up. I'd ask her to come over to mine and she'd bail with some lame excuse about needing to help my mom with something. Or she'd say she was too tired, but post pics from a dinner out. Not with me. And yeah, I checked the background of one photo and I could see Atlas's jacket, that stupid red one he always wears. I felt a little crazy Angle, but I still didn't think they were like together. Just thought maybe they were being weird about hanging out without me for some reason. So then the real fun starts. My family's got this big group chat like most people do. And my mom starts organizing Christmas. I'm not super into the holidays, but I always show up, never miss it. We've always hosted at my parents' house every single year. This time though, I get a message from my mom. Not even a call, just a message saying it's probably best if I skip Christmas this year because it'll be too awkward with everything that's happened. I'm like, what the actual hell is she talking about? I scroll back through the chat and see my dad and Atlas both chiming in about being mature and not making a scene. I text Rosalie and she just says, "I'm sorry, this is for the best." Like what? So, I actually call my mom because I'm done with the texting BS and she answers and just immediately goes, "Don't be petty. They're in love. You need to move on." And I just go silent. I can't even process that. I ask her if I'm hearing this right and she says, "Yes, Atlas and Rosalie are together. It's serious and I should try to be happy for them." I'm laughing like, is this a joke? My brother gets on the phone and says, "She chose the better man and I should take the L." I swear I almost drove over to my parents' place right then. I hang up and go to the group chat and see they've all just decided without me that I'm not invited. My dad messages me directly. Says I was never good enough for her anyway and I should stop acting like a victim. I don't even know how to describe what that felt like. Not even anger, just nothing. So, I grab my stuff from my apartment. Luckily, most of my stuff was still in boxes because I'd been planning to move in with Rosalie after the holiday. I pack it all up and drive to a friend's place. Not even a super close friend, just someone who has a spare room and doesn't ask questions. I sit in my car outside their place for like 10 minutes. Just scrolling through my phone looking at the messages again. I don't answer anyone. I don't call anyone. I just send one message to the family group chat. "Thanks for showing me exactly who you all are. Makes it easy to cut you off." Then I leave. I delete the chat. I block Atlas. I block my mom and dad. I block Rosalie. I don't cry or scream or anything. I just feel numb, then angry, then really angry. Like, I can't believe I let them treat me like this for so long. It's not just this. It's always been like this with Atlas always getting the better deal and me just being there to fill in the gaps when he's not around. I'm not doing that anymore. I text a couple friends just to let them know I'm out. And they're all like, "Wow, are you sure? Maybe it's just a misunderstanding." Nobody wants to believe that people can suck this much. But honestly, my family has always been like this, just not this open about it until now. I don't go back to my parents' house. They keep texting, but I ignore it. I hear from a cousin that Atlas and Rosalie showed up to Christmas together, like it was no big deal. Nobody really says anything to them. My mom posts a photo of the two of them on her Facebook, captioned, "So happy for these two." Father. I think I was just a placeholder for like someone to blame when things go wrong. Atlas gets what he wants. Rosalie wants someone who's always the center of attention. My parents want the star son to have it all. I was just in the way. I get it now. I keep thinking about how quick they were to cut me out like it was nothing. Not even a fight. Just a shrug and move on. I'm not going to just sit and take it, though. I'm not built for that. I'm pissed off and I want them to know it. I want them to feel even a fraction of what I felt. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I have some ideas. I know where it hurts for them. And it's not just feelings. I'm not going to break the law, but I'm not going to just walk away like I never mattered. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm done. I'm out. My family made their choice and I'm making mine. If anyone's actually read this far, I guess thanks. I don't even know if I want advice. Just needed to get it out. But trust me, this isn't the end. I'm not letting this slide. Not this time. Part 2 coming if anyone cares. Update section, spoken as continuation, not going to lie. The first couple days after that whole mess just felt like I was stuck in some alternate version of my life where nothing made sense. I kept waiting for someone, anyone, to text me and say it was all a joke, some weird family prank or whatever. But nothing, just silence. Well, not silence. More like the kind of silence where you know people are talking about you, just not to you. My phone buzzed a few times with random group chat notifications, but nothing directly from me. I could see my cousin Helen's posts about family time and that pic of Atlas and Rosalie at the Christmas table, my mom in the background smiling like she just won the lottery. I blocked them after that, but it was too late. The whole thing was already stuck in my head. Living out of boxes in a friend's spare room was as miserable as it sounds. I couldn't even unpack. I left half my stuff in the car because I didn't feel like explaining to anyone why I suddenly had basically my whole apartment in the trunk. My friend didn't ask. I appreciated that. Just handed me a key and showed me where the towels were. I scrolled through my phone a lot, watched random TikToks just to fill time, but I kept seeing their faces, stuff that reminded me of them. I uninstalled the app for a bit. So, first week I just went through the motions, tried to eat, didn't really talk to anyone. One of my old friends, Sarah, texted me and said, "Are you okay?" I said I was fine because I didn't want to get into it, and she just sent back a thumbs up. That was it. People are awkward when stuff like this happens. Teach, no one knows what to say. Anyway, I started thinking about how quick my family was to just cut me out. Like, not even a question. It's not even about Rosalie at this point. It's the fact that they were just waiting for a reason to side with Atlas. I guess I knew deep down my parents always saw him as the one with potential. He was always the one they bragged about. Even when we were kids, when I brought home good news, it was always, "That's nice." But did you hear what Atlas did? It was always about him being ahead and me being steady. So after the shock wore off, I started getting mad. Like actually furious. I realized I'd spent years just letting them get away with treating me like a backup plan. Even when I did stuff for the family, helped with bills, fixed my parents' broken Wi-Fi, all the boring errands, it was just expected. Atlas never had to do any of that. My mom literally told me once that it was just because I was more reliable. Like, it was a compliment. The thing is, I wasn't just the reliable one. I was the one who handled all the boring stuff they couldn't be bothered with. My parents have this rental property, nothing fancy, just a small place a few blocks from their house. And a while back, they asked if I'd be willing to co-sign some paperwork because Atlas couldn't qualify on his own. I said yes because I was stupidly trying to be the good son. So technically, I'm still on the paperwork for that place. Atlas has been living there rent-free ever since, with my parents covering utilities. I never saw a cent, which was fine, but now it just pisses me off. Rosalie also owes me money. Not a ton, but enough that it's not nothing. We split a bunch of stuff the last year, like moving expenses and some shared furniture we were going to use when we moved in together. She said she'd Venmo me her half, but kept forgetting. I let it slide because I thought we were going to get married. Now, every time I see that old text, I'll send it next week. I just want to throw my phone out the window. So, this is where my brain started shifting from sad loser to I'm not letting this go. Like, I know I can't make them love me or whatever, but I can sure as hell stop making their lives easier. I pulled up my email and started looking through every invoice, every Venmo receipt, every dumb little document my mom sent me about the rental. I started making a list. I'm not talking about revenge like putting glue in their locks or whatever. I mean hitting them where it actually hurts. Money, comfort, reputation. The more I dug, the more I realized how much I'd let slide. My parents just assumed I'd never rock the boat. That was their big mistake. So, I started thinking about what I could actually do and what would actually make them notice. I didn't want to just ghost them and let them pretend I never existed. I wanted them to have to deal with what they did, like really deal with it. I talked to a friend who knows a bit about rental laws, just general stuff, nothing sketchy, and figured out that because I'm still on the paperwork, I have the legal right to force a sale of the property. If I want out, they'd either have to buy me out or let it hit the open market. Atlas can't afford that. And my parents are stretched thin because they're always bailing him out. This is not some mansion, but without me, they'd have to scramble. I started drafting an email to my parents like, hey, just so you know, I'm pulling out of the property. You have 30 days to figure it out. I haven't sent it yet, but I'm going to. I want to time it right. Rosalie, I'm not letting her off either. I went through my texts and found every single instance of her saying she'd pay me back. I made a PDF and attached screenshots. I sent her a message, here's what you owe me. I want it by the end of the month. She read it and didn't reply. I followed up and she just hearted the message. Classic. Mutual friends started reaching out, but not all at once. It was more like, hey man, sorry about what happened, but you should just move on. They seem happy. Like what? I asked one of them, do you really think it's okay what they did? The guy just said, Atlas said you were checked out anyway. That pissed me off more than anything because that's what they always do. Make it sound like I just wasn't enough. I'm not letting that narrative stand. So, I started sending some of them the screenshots, not to be petty, but just to show them what actually happened. Most of them didn't reply after that, but a couple did. One just said, damn, I didn't know it was like that. Another one said, that's rough, man. Not much else. People don't want to get involved. My cousin Helen texted me out of the blue and said, you know, you could just let it go and find someone else. She's always been my mom's little messenger. I told her I'm not interested in being part of the family group anymore. And she said, fine, but don't make it awkward for everyone. I asked her how it's awkward for them when they're the ones who cut me out. And she just sent back a long rant about family being complicated. I left her on read. So yeah, it's not like I'm winning friends here, but I don't care. I started unfollowing everyone who liked Atlas and Rosalie's posts. I blocked anyone who sent me guilt trips. My circle is small now, but at least I know who's real. The weirdest part was seeing how fast Rosalie and Atlas just moved in together like nothing happened. I heard from a neighbor that they were having people over already, like just acting like a couple. My mom apparently dropped off food for them the first week. My dad was bragging about Atlas finally settling down. I guess I was just supposed to disappear. But here's the thing. I'm not disappearing. I know exactly what they care about. Security, comfort, keeping up appearances. If I start pulling on those threads, they're going to feel it. And I'm not doing anything illegal, just enforcing what's already mine. I'm not going to smash their windows or anything, but I'm not making their lives easy anymore. So, next step, I'm sending that email about the property. I'm following up with Rosalie about the money. I'm making it very clear to mutual friends what actually happened so they can't just rewrite history. I'm not being loud about it, just clear. I'm not sure how this is all going to play out, but I'm done being quiet. If they want to act like I never mattered, I'm going to show them exactly how wrong they are. I'm just getting started. If anyone's got advice on how to make sure they actually pay attention, I'm listening. But trust me, I'm not stopping here. I want them to feel it every single day. Next part's coming when I've made my move. Stay tuned. Next update continuation, spoken seamlessly. I didn't expect it to feel like anything when I hit send on that email about the property, but I was wrong because I immediately got a call from my dad less than 5 minutes later. I muted it, watched the screen light up over and over. Then texts started rolling in, first from my mom, then Atlas, then my dad again. It was all, "What are you doing? Why now can we talk about this?" I left it on read. I didn't reply at all for a couple hours. Just went for a walk and listened to some old playlists I hadn't touched in ages. The city felt extra cold that day, but it helped. So, I finally answered my dad after a bunch of missed calls, mostly because I knew if I didn't, he'd show up at my door. He started with, "This is ridiculous. You're being immature, and all that." I just said, "I want out. I'm not your co-signer anymore. You've got 30 days to buy me out or it's getting listed." He tried to argue, said Atlas can't afford it. Said I was putting the family in a tough spot. I said, "You made your choice. Now deal with it." My mom texted next. And she wasn't even trying to be nice. She said, "You always do this. Make things difficult for everyone." I said, "I'm not the one who made it difficult. I'm just not cleaning up your mess anymore." She called me selfish. I put my phone face down and went to make a sandwich like it was any other day. Atlas tried to call me that night. I picked up because I needed to hear how he'd spin it. He started off with the usual, "Man, you're really going to do this? It's not that deep. We're family." I told him, "You can't have it both ways. You can't screw me over and keep the free ride." He got mad. Said I was ruining things for everyone. That I was just bitter. I told him he could always get a real job and pay rent like everyone else. Then he said, "You're just jealous because she picked me." I laughed and hung up. He called back. I let it ring. The next day, I followed up with Rosalie. I sent her the screenshots and the PDF with everything she owed. I said, "I want this paid by the end of the month or I'm filing." She left me on read, then finally replied with, "You're really going to be this petty?" I just replied with the payment breakdown again. After that, nothing. My parents started group texting me with guilt trips. "You know we're your family. You're better than this. Why are you punishing us?" I didn't answer. My cousin Helen called and said, "Everyone's talking about how you're tearing the family apart." I said, "Maybe they shouldn't have picked sides." She said it wasn't that simple. I said, "It really is." She hung up. The group chat I was still in with a couple mutual friends started heating up. Someone screenshotted a post Atlas put on his story. Something vague about loyalty and snakes. I just posted the receipts. No commentary, just facts. I messaged a couple friends directly and said, "If you're still talking to Atlas and Rosalie, that's your call, but don't bring their drama to me." A couple of them left the chat. One guy messaged me and said, "I get it now. Sorry. Not that it fixes anything, but whatever." I started getting calls from my parents almost every night. Sometimes my dad, sometimes my mom, sometimes both. My dad tried reasoning, tried yelling, once even tried threatening to sue me if I forced the property sale. I just told him, "Go ahead. I'm well within my rights. You should have thought about the consequences." He yelled. I hung up. My mom tried the emotional angle. Cried on the phone. Said I was tearing the family apart. I told her, "You did that when you chose Atlas over me." She slammed the phone down. Atlas showed up at my friend's place one night, which was wild because I hadn't told anyone where I was staying. He banged on the door and started yelling for me to come out. My friend opened the door and told him to leave, but Atlas just pushed past him. I met him in the hallway and he got in my face. Said, "You're not going to ruin my life over this." I said, "Looks like you did that yourself." He shoved me. I shoved him back. My friend pulled us apart and told him to get out. Atlas kicked the door on his way out. After that, I got a text from my mom saying, "Atlas told me what happened. You're out of control." I said, "If he shows up again, I'm calling the cops." She said, "Don't threaten family." I said, "Then tell him to stay away." Every day after that, it was something new. My dad called to say, "You have no idea what you're doing. This is bigger than you." I said, "Not my problem." My mom texted, "You used to be the good one." I said, "I still am, just not your doormat." Rosalie finally paid me, but only after I sent her a formal demand letter. She sent it in 2 payments and blocked me after. I laughed when I saw her Instagram story a week later. Something about learning who your real friends are. Real original. The property thing dragged on for weeks. My parents tried to stall, tried to get me to meet for family discussion. I said, "There's nothing to discuss." They tried to guilt me with old photos, old memories, the works. I ignored them. Eventually, I got a call from their lawyer, not even kidding, trying to convince me to reconsider. I said, "This isn't personal. It's business. You have 30 days or it's on the market." My dad called after that and screamed at me. Said I was ungrateful. Said he wished he'd never put me on the paperwork. I told him, "Now you know how it feels to be left out." He hung up. People started picking sides. Family friends who used to always invite me to stuff stopped. My aunt sent me a message saying, "I hope you're happy with yourself." I blocked her. A few cousins reached out and said, "We're here if you want to talk." I said, "I'm good." After a month, my parents caved. They couldn't buy me out, so the property went up for sale. Atlas called me and begged for more time. Said he'd pay me rent if I just pulled the listing. I told him, "You've been living for free long enough. Time to figure it out." He tried to say, "I'll never forgive you for this." I said, "I stopped caring what you think a long time ago." The day the realtor put the sign up, my mom texted, "I hope this was worth it." I didn't reply. I spent that night watching dumb YouTube videos and eating takeout with my friend who didn't say anything about it. We just watched bad movies and laughed. Rosalie and Atlas started fighting, or so I heard from a mutual. Apparently, living together wasn't the dream they thought it was. My parents were stressed, trying to juggle the sale, trying to hide it from family friends. I saw a couple of awkward posts on Facebook from my mom. Nothing direct, just a lot of vague sadness. The best part, I didn't even do anything sneaky. I just stopped making their lives easy. I stopped being the one who fixed things, paid bills, kept secrets, made excuses. I just let the consequences hit. By the end of the 3rd month, the property was sold. Atlas had to move out. My parents lost their extra income stream. I got my share. Nothing crazy, but enough. Rosalie was out to. Last I heard, she went back to her old place. My family group chat was dead. My mom sent me a long email about forgiveness and family. I left it unread. I'm not going to say it felt good, but it felt right. I didn't get even. I just stopped playing their game. Now they have to figure out what to do without someone to clean up the mess. I know some people are going to say this is harsh, but FR. You don't get to betray someone and then act like nothing happened. I'm not done yet either. There's still a few things I want to make clear before I finally block them. If you've made it this far, you know I'm not backing down. One more update coming soon. Final update, spoken as conclusion. So, this is the part one didn't expect. Like, I knew they'd be mad, but I didn't really picture what it looks like when the whole family structure just cracks. Honestly, it started weirdly quiet. Everyone went radio silent right after the property closed. Like, they thought if they ignored me long enough, maybe I'd just get bored and go away. I stayed out of their orbit, didn't check their profiles, didn't talk to anyone who'd play Messenger. I thought that would be it, and I'd just move on. But then about a month after the place sold, it's like they all suddenly realized I wasn't coming back. My dad started first, just these short texts. "Hey, call me or you got a minute?" I left him on read. My mom followed up with a long message about how family comes first and how I was being stubborn and holding a grudge. I sent her a one-word reply. Then it kicked off for real. I get this call from my cousin Helen. She's actually talking fast for once. Says she's worried about grandma because my parents are fighting all the time and Atlas moved back in and things are bad. I just said, "Not my circus." She said, "Aren't you even a little sorry?" I said, "Not even a little." She hung up. Right after that, Atlas tried calling. I ignored him. So, he sent me this wall of text like, "You happy now? You've ruined everything. Hope it was worth it, and whatever." I didn't reply. He called again. I picked up. He started yelling. So I hung up. He called back and left a voicemail, just breathing heavy for like 30 seconds, then hung up. Real mature. Then my mom sent this group text, just me, her, and my dad. The kind of message where you know she's been crying. She said, "Please, you're all we have left. It's not the same without you." And she wanted to have a family meeting. I didn't reply. My dad tried again. Said, "Your brother made mistakes, but you're being dramatic. We can fix this." I sent back, "There's nothing to fix. You made your choices." Aunt Sarah called me and said, "You need to stop this. Your parents are exhausted. Atlas is a mess and people are starting to ask questions." I said, "Maybe they should have thought about that before." She got mad and said, "You're punishing everyone for something that wasn't even about you." I said, "It was always about me. You just didn't care until it cost you money." She slammed the phone down. I found out from a mutual that Atlas and Rosalie broke up. She moved out, blocked him on basically everything. Apparently, she told some people that Atlas was not who she thought he was and that my mom was too much. Can't say I'm shocked. Atlas always got by on being the favorite, but he's not exactly easy to live with when he's not getting everything handed to him. I heard he tried to crash on a friend's couch and got told no. My parents have been calling every day now. Seriously, every day, sometimes multiple times, just asking me to talk. My dad even showed up at my friend's place one night, just stood outside and called my name. I didn't answer the door. My friend texted me from his room. "Bro, your dad's outside. Do I call someone?" I just ignored it. Dad eventually left. They started sending emails too. Long ones like pages and pages about how family means forgiveness. How they only wanted what's best for me. How they hope I can move on and come home. I just hit archive every time. At this point, it's like they're performing for each other. Not for me. I know the pattern. If they can get me back in the house, it's back to business as usual. Atlas on top. Me cleaning up the mess. Not happening. The money from the property hit my account about 2 weeks ago. I used it to pay off a couple big bills and set up a new place. I didn't give them the address. I keep my circle tiny now. Just a couple friends, no one from the family. What's wild is how much quieter my life is. I still get random messages. One time my dad tried to guilt trip me by saying, "If something happens to your mother, it's on you." I just replied, "Don't." He didn't answer. My mom tried to play nice again. Said, "We just want to talk." I said, "You did enough talking before." I could go on about the little things. How I saw Atlas at the grocery store. He looked away. How my mom tried to corner me at the gas station and I just drove off. How my dad sent me this long rambling text about men standing together. But honestly, it's all noise now. I guess my family always treated me like the spare. They only missed me when I stopped being useful. Atlas did what he did because he's always been told he can. And my parents played along because he was the one they wanted to win. I had to be the one to end it because they never would. I'm not going to say I feel amazing or that I got some huge life lesson. I just did what I had to do. I'm angry. Yeah, but I'm not sorry. If you're reading this and thinking about whether you should let people walk all over you just because they're family, I hope this makes it pretty clear. I don't know what comes next and I honestly don't care. They can call, text, email, whatever. I'm not picking up. They wanted a winner. Now they can deal with what that actually looks like. That's it. No sappy ending. Just done.